Hello, everyone. I am sure you are busy putting the finishing touches on your research paper, which is due this Sunday evening. By now, you should have received feedback, hopefully from two or perhaps one classmate, and you should be using that feedback constructively to perfect your paper. And you should also use what I'm going to be discussing in this video presentation. The revision stage is the last stage of the writing process, and it is the most important. You probably remember from our previous discussions that pre-writing takes about 25% of your time, drafting takes about 25% of your time, and you should spend 50% of your time revising a paper. Keep in mind that your first effort is usually not your best effort. So you really need to go back in and work at making the paper better. So there is a difference between revising, editing, and proofreading. So when we are talking about revision, to revise effectively, you must re-see what you have written, which, after all, is what revision actually means. So you need to go back in and take a really good look at your rough draft. And this is a two-step process that involves revising first, editing last. Sometimes revision can mean a major overhaul of your paper. You may have to rewrite entire sections. You may not. It just basically depends on the time and effort you put into your draft, and also your writing ability and how well you understood the assignment. So keep in mind that when we're talking about editing, a lot of times people use revising and editing as interchangeable terms, but they're actually not. They are two completely different things. So when you are talking about editing your work, that deals with local concerns, making sentences read better, inserting transition between sentences and paragraphs, checking for correct format, and of course, eliminating errors in grammar, punctuation, and spelling. A lot of you still have problems with capitalization, comma usage, semicolon usage, comma splices. So those are things that you are going to look at last before you turn in the paper. So experienced writers know both steps are critical for success, and even the best writers have to revise several times to get the result that they want. So yes, it is a time-consuming process. No, it is not easy, but the more you do it, the easier it'll become. So if you really kind of take the time now with this paper and our last paper, hopefully you'll kind of get a better feel for the revision process and will go smoother the more that you use it. So to revise effectively, you're going to be looking at big items, okay? You will need to take a very critical look at your draft. Now you become a reader, not a writer. So when you're reading your rough draft, think about, are the main points adequately developed? You know, is the organization effective? Does it make sense to put things in this order? Is it easy to understand, especially to someone that doesn't know about this topic? Let's see, what else? Is there a place where you need to clarify some things? So hopefully you have already responded to others. If you are running behind, you can still certainly provide feedback. Responding to others actually even helps you because you are looking at someone else's work with a critical eye as a reader. And you're noticing things in their work that could be changed for the better. And then it might get you thinking, wait, maybe I did that too. Maybe I see a paragraph like this in my paper that I could probably need to add some more examples to as well. Or you notice some mechanical errors and you maybe think of a place in your paper where you might have made that same mechanical error. So responding to others definitely also helps you with your own revision practice. So again, if you miss the deadline for the discussion board, you can certainly still provide some feedback for some credit, because you would not only be helping a classmate, you are going to be helping yourself too. So remember to pay attention to the details last. Your sentences should be clearly written and free of errors in grammar and punctuations. I cannot tell you what a huge distraction that is to readers when you have sentences with lowercase i's, incorrect comma usage, run-on sentences, fragments. It totally distracts from the message. So in reference to our triangle, it not only hurts your ethos, which is your credibility, but it can also take away from logos, because now the reader is more concerned with fixing your mistakes than listening to what you have to say. So definitely take your classmates' comments into consideration. Consider that a benefit to you. So you can use this question list as a way to evaluate your draft and note places where you might want to make improvements. I strongly suggest you printing out a copy of your rough draft to read it first, and then go back in and make notes of where you need to make changes. So first of all, go back into Blackboard, look at the assignments tab, and look at the handout of the research paper. Does your paper meet the assignment? Do you hit all of the points listed? Do you have enough source material? So consider your product versus the assignment first. Does your paper have a clear focus? Are your main points adequately developed? Again, each paragraph should have one main idea with a strong topic sentence. You should elaborate and explain that idea, and then provide an example and support. So again, we talked about that your paragraph should not begin with a quote. You want to use your source material to support your ideas and not the other way around. So, is your organization effective? Do you consider your potential readers' knowledge and points of view? So think about, how much will my audience know about this topic? Have you provided enough background information? Have you explained enough so that the readers can understand? And then always take special care to your introduction and conclusion. Remember, you always want to start strong and end strong. Have you put some creativity into your introduction? Have you thought about attention getters? Do you have a very clear thesis statement at the end of your introduction? What about your conclusion? Do you wrap things up? Do you restate your thesis? Restate your main ideas? Do you leave the reader with something to think about? So very cautiously review your introduction and conclusion and figure out how to make it better. And finally, consider your title. Titles usually have a big impact on readers. Sometimes we decide based upon the title alone whether a piece is worthy of our time and attention to read. So make sure that you do have a nice creative title. Do not entitle this paper the research paper. So definitely keep your audience in mind. You always want to revise with your audience in mind. Will they understand these points? Have I explained them? Have I supported them? For someone that knows nothing about this topic, will they have a much better understanding after reading my paper? Always sharpen your focus whenever possible. Really consider how you are presenting your ideas. make sure you're defining any key terms, especially key terms that readers would need to understand in order to move through the paper. We talked about developing your ideas. Also check links between paragraphs. Make sure that you have flow. Consider signal words. So you want to definitely make sure you're using strong transitions throughout. And we talked about it, title, introduction, and conclusion. So pay attention to details last. When you finish revising and you feel like you have adequately developed all of your main points, they're well supported, then you go back in as an editor. So edit different elements in turn. You know, it can be overwhelming to kind of look for everything all at once. So maybe first you check your connections between sentences. Then check the actual sentence itself. Are you using action verbs? Is there any place that you can eliminate wordiness? You know, where you maybe used 3 words, you could replace it with 1 word. Check your verbs. Also, consider your style and think about the tone, how the writing kind of affects pathos, the emotion that you're trying to maybe evoke in your audience. So you want to make sure that you are proofreading carefully, know what your spell checker can and can't do. Pay attention to grammar and punctuation. If you know you struggle at commas, review the comma rules in our Writing Matters textbook and make sure you have commas after introductory phrases. You have proper punctuation when you are using conjunctive adverbs. You will get comments from me after you turn in your final copy, and you will have the option to revise and resubmit. So always pay attention to instructors' comments carefully. And always schedule a meeting with an instructor if you don't understand comments returned to you. I'm more than happy to meet with you guys at any time. You also have the RMU Writing Center available to you. They are doing virtual appointments. Please visit the website and you can see exactly what they offer and how to schedule an appointment. So here is kind of all these tips kind of condensed into a little easy format. I do strongly recommend you work from a printed copy. It's also easier on the eyes. Problems that seem invisible on the screen can tend to show up better on paper. Also, think about the list of questions that I've provided. You can certainly print that out. You also want to consider reading your paper out loud. Reading the paper out loud is a great way to check for flow. So once you have your printed copy and you maybe read through it silently first, then go through and read it out loud. And I'm actually posting a little video on that too. So look at the list of questions. You can certainly print those out and just be sure that you are looking at all of these items truthfully. So good luck with the revision process, and please let me know if I can be any assistance. Have a great day, guys.